Hey everybody, welcome back to another video on the Practical IT channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Linux Mint beta of 21.1 with the Cinnamon desktop. Let's get started. Let's start off by going through the first run wizard. The first step is that we need to turn off this checkbox down here at the bottom that says show this dialog at startup, because we only need to see this once. Alright, we can take a look at the first steps, and it has desktop colors. You can select the highlight color. Let's go with purple. You can select light mode or dark mode. I personally prefer dark mode. The panel layout, which is down here at the bottom. Modern or traditional. Let's do modern. System snapshots. We'll leave that turned off for now. There's a driver manager, update manager, system settings, and buttons to launch all this stuff. Software manager and firewall. We've got an option for documentation, help, and of course to contribute to the development. Let's go ahead and close this. First impressions, if you're a new user of Linux Mint, this looks a lot like what you might think of when it comes to a Windows desktop. You've got the desktop, you've got a taskbar, you've got a menu here in the left corner with a search bar, some categories, and different quick launch items on the very left side. If you want to change your desktop, you right click and you go to customize. And you've got different options that you can work with here. You've got a file manager, which has all of the basic things that you'd be used to seeing if you're coming from a Mac or a Windows machine. You've got folders, you've got quick launch to get to folders in other places, you've got an option for network, and it does in fact query your network and it will find servers on the network that share files. We've got the Firefox browser installed by default, and we've got a terminal. So let's go ahead and get this started doing updates. So we'll say sudo apt update &, sudo apt upgrade -y. And what this is doing, sudo says to elevate your privileges to an administrator level or root level, as the terminology is in Linux. Apt update is going to grab a list of available updates. The $& is going to say if the first command finishes with no errors, launch into the second command. And the second command, sudo again, apt upgrade, which is going to actually download and install those updates. -y means that we're not going to be prompted with an extra question of whether we want to install them. It's going to prompt for the password. And it will start its process. And don't worry if you're unfamiliar with the command line, there is a graphical way to do this as well. And that is this little shield down here in the bottom corner. Okay, so if we go back to our menu, here we've got system settings. And we can go to backgrounds. As you can see, there are a number of backgrounds that are included, as well as backgrounds from previous releases, that have some more interesting looks to them. I kind of like this. So let's use that. If we minimize our terminal, we've got a nice look at a bridge and a cityscape across a body of water. And our updates are complete. So we'll use Control D to close our terminal. Okay. Let's take a look at the network icon here. And as you would expect, it gives you the option to turn wired networking on and off. I do not have a wireless card hooked to this VM. Network settings will bring up some options. This is wired. We've got a little gear in the bottom corner. And this is where we can change settings. There's 802.1x security. There's identity. You can change to a custom MAC address. You can change this to a static IP address instead of DHCP. You can also come down here to routes, and you could change this and put in some custom information as well. We're going to leave that on automatic for the time being. Where you might be most interested as far as a change to make is turning off DNS, and maybe you've got a Pi-hole or some other system on your network running to remove ads and filter your connection a little bit. Maybe you just want to bypass your internet provider's DNS addresses and use Google DNS and Cloudflare DNS. Okay, so you have to add them on separate lines. A lot of times you have to add them with commas separating them. Okay, so here we have the graphical update manager popping up, which we don't really need to do much. We'll wait for it to do its little cycle, and then we'll go back to our network settings. This is specifically checking for Flatpak updates. Now, if you're not familiar, Flatpaks are a type of universal package for Linux systems. If you are familiar with macOS, you could think of them as a DMG file. And basically, they include and encapsulate all of the libraries and different pieces that a given application is going to need to run, sort of sandboxed, so that it doesn't interfere with other software on your system. And this is sort of a double-edged sword because on one hand, it gives you a little bit of extra compartmentalization between your applications. But on the other hand, it does make less efficient use of the space. So the great thing is that you can get on a stable Linux distribution like a Mint or an Ubuntu, and with Flatpaks you can install some cutting edge applications that might not be available to you in the normal Linux packaged method. So, something good to know about. Let's go ahead and apply that. And that's all we need to do here for right now. So we've got a bunch of things installed by default. Accessories has all the normal things installed. It even makes an easy way to manage fonts available to you. Graphics, internet, includes a web browser, a chat application, mail, transmission, I believe, is for BitTorrent, and then web apps. Office, you've got LibreOffice installed by default. Sound and video, you've got a music player and a video player. I'm not sure what Hypnotics is. Administration has most of your system settings. Applets that you can jump to real quick. And preferences has some more applets. With administration being more the system administration side of things. And then you've got places and recent files that you can jump to quickly. On the left-hand side, we've got Firefox. We've got the software manager, which we'll look at in a moment. We've already looked at system settings, terminal, and the file manager. In addition, you've got an icon to lock your screen, log out, and shut down the computer. Let's jump into the software manager for just a moment. And if you're familiar with an app store on any other platform, whether that be mobile, Windows, or macOS, this should make you feel somewhat at home. You've got a list of categories, and you've got some featured apps. And you can drill down into these categories. Let's say Flatpak specifically. And then you can install any of these items very easily. So you could even install a different version of Firefox than what is included with the system, or any of a number of other applications, and there are quite a few here. We can go back. We can look at other internet applications and see what we've got here. No Brave browser, but we do have plenty of other things. Let's take a look. I don't have anything in particular in mind, but there's got to be something interesting here. Okay, let's install Konqueror. That's not what I'm thinking of. I actually want... Oh, Crusader is not packaged apparently. Bummer. Okay, let's install Krita. And install. It's going to tell you what it's going to do here. Continue. And we've got a little status bar and it is installing. All right. We can go ahead and launch the application now. So Krita is like a painting program, I suppose you could call it. I'm really not an artist, so I don't really use this application much. So you can do different things with it. Like I said, I am no artist. Anyways, that's just a little bit of Krita there. We're not going to save that thing. And that is a little bit of a look around Linux Mint. Just for the sake of argument, HTOP is not installed by default. NeoFetch is. So as you can see, we're on a 5.15 kernel. Uptime is 19 minutes. We've got 2,133 Debian packages and 6 Flatpaks. Bash is the shell, version 5.1.16. 1280 by 800 resolution. This is Cinnamon 5.6.4. And it gives you themes and icons. And we're running with 4 KVM processors at basically 2.4 gigahertz. And it tells you about the memory and the GPU vendor. This gives you a little bit of information on what we're using as far as memory resources. No swap or virtual memory is currently in use, so that's good. Let's go ahead and exit out of that. And since we are running a VM, this just gives you a little bit of the back side of things. So this is a graph showing CPU usage, memory usage, the network traffic, and disk I/O. So that is the first look at Linux Mint. Final thing that we're going to do is install the QEMU guest agent. And we will use the graphical method to shut down. And that's going to do it for this video. If you liked the video, you got something out of this, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already. And feel free to pass the word on to friends, relatives, and coworkers that might find this interesting. Please keep in mind that this is a beta. The full version of Linux Mint 21.1 is due out Christmas Day. That's December 25th, 2022. So do not run this as your daily driver Linux distribution until then. And on that note, thank you once again for watching. I will see you in the next video. Have a great day. You're still here? I guess that means you want to see the installer footage. Let's roll that right now.